This is a live Channels television event.
And then we also have Olajumoke Olatunji from TV Continental.
Good
and
afternoon, Jumoke.
and also Benga Aruleba, Executive Director, AIT Television.
Your Excellency.
Welcome to Zamfara, Benga.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so
Well,
much.
for the benefit of those who are watching us at home, this program is being broadcast live on Arise News, Channel 416 on DSTV, TV Continental, Channel 418, also on DSTV, and also on Channels Television, on DSTV, Channel 420. We are also live on Zamfara Radio, 564 FM for the people in Zamfara State, and also on Zamfara Television. This program is being broadcast live. Thank you very much for joining us and for watching. Governor.
Yes,
Well,
Ruben.
congratulations. It's been 2 years. And in the last few days, you've been commissioning one project after another. I recall that President Olusegun Obasanjo was here, and he commissioned a specialist hospital. He also commissioned 2 major roads, and he said that you are on a rescue mission in Zamfara State, and you can be sure of his support. Senator Jules Okalo was also here to commission the Ministry of Women Affairs that has been renovated and remodeled, and also Zakas, which is a school, also which has been renovated and largely rebuilt. Now, but President Obasanjo says you are on a rescue mission. What have you been rescuing in the last 2 years? Because when you say rescue, it's like the state was in danger and you needed to come and rescue. Do you see yourself as, someone who has come to rescue Zamfara State? And what have you been rescuing?
Well, Ruben, first of all, welcome to Zamfara State and the entire team that are here. It's such a pleasure to have you in Zamfara State, and I'm happy you're here to see for yourself what Zamfara is all about. Like you rightly mentioned, Ojikalu was here on Monday. We actually came together on Sunday, and I remember he was complaining about the trip where it took him 7 hours from a 40-kilometer trip to get to Gusau. Anyway, on Monday, he was able to commission 2 projects. One was the Women's Center. It wasn't actually reconstructed. It was a brand new construction of Women Affairs, fully furnished, as well as renovation of major classrooms, as well as hostel at the Zamfara State College of Art and Science. The same thing, President Obasanjo, yesterday, he commissioned the newly renovated Yarima Mbakura Specialist Hospital, where we had to do everything. In fact, we had to change everything and build new structure in Zamfara at that hospital. This is the first time Zamfara is witnessing this kind of transformation, especially in the health sector. Let me give you a brief background. In December 2023, having gone around the hospitals in Zamfara State, most especially the ones in the state capital, I was totally put aback. I was disappointed with the conditions I saw those hospitals. And that was what led to the declaration of emergency in the health sector on the 31st of December 2023. And what I did at that time was to set up a team of experts to go around all the 40 local governments to understand what is happening in all the hospitals, especially the secondary hospital, tertiary hospital, before we went back to look at the primary healthcare centers. After putting that committee, they came up with a lot of recommendations that we need to take drastic actions to change the narratives in the health sector. And we started with a hospital in one of the local government called Bukwim, in a town called Nasarawa Burkolu. It was a primary healthcare center And I remember when I went to campaign that time and I saw the condition of the hospital, I said, look, I'm going to do something, transform that primary health care center into a general hospital. And I'm happy to say that that was the first major hospital that we commissioned in Zamfara by building new structures and bringing new equipment into the hospital. Having done that, the next one was in Maradun. Maradun is another local government in Zamfara state. And I also went there and transformed the hospital into a modern hospital, fully equipped with modern cutting-edge technology. Then the next local government is Maru. Maru is also another local government where I reconstructed the hospital and put brand new equipment. And when we put this equipment, we also make sure we provide solar so that they will be able to function 24/7 at any point in time. After Maru, the next was Karanamoda. If you go to Karanamoda now, you will see the brand new hospital that was fully equipped with also state-of-the-art cutting-edge technology. After Karanamoda, I came back to Gusau, the hospital where I was born, because the last time I went there, what I saw was a total dysfunctional system. And I'm happy to say that we have done the hospital fully renovated, fully equipped. The major one now was the one commissioned yesterday by the former President Olusegun Obasanjo. There was a total rehabilitation of the system and new structures were added. I'm happy to say that now everything that is in that hospital is brand new. We took all the old beds and every other machine in that hospital and brought brand new equipment. And this is the first time in the history of this state we have CT scan, the latest in the country. We have MRI, the latest in the country. In fact, when General Obasanjo saw that, he was amazed that when did we plan to do all these things? And we have a complete radiology department where everything that you need to be tested on is there, and you get your result within the next couple of minutes. This is part of the transformation to the health sector. And within the next 2 months, I'm going to commission General Hospital in Safi local government. I think when you came through Funtua, you passed through Safi. I'm also reconstructing that hospital to a latest hospital. And of course, Talata Mafra, in the next 2 months also, I'm going to commission, by the grace of God, commission Talata Mafra General Hospital. That is from scratch. It's a brand new hospital, because when I went to Talata Mafra, when I saw the labor room, the theater, believe me, Ruben, even your animal, as a conscious human being with conscience, you will not allow your animal to be operated in that theater, talk less of a human being. So it is actually a rescue mission. And the rescue mission consists of different sectors, which I will tell you one after the other. This is about health. So in the health sector, we're doing so much. And it's not about having the structures. It's also having the manpower to be able to handle, especially all this latest equipment. And I had to introduce a new system of salary, which is equal to what the federal government is paying, in order to attract medical personnel to come and man those hospitals, because it's a different thing to have the buildings. It's another thing to have the manpower that will be able to operate to capacity. Now, part of also what we're doing, we have 2 nursing schools. One is in Zafe, College of Health Science Technology, and School of Nursing in Gusau. If you go to Safi, and I'm going to commission that health technology also very, very soon. I had to go and build new structures, new classroom, lecture theater, hostel, and also latest equipment so that the student can learn in different aspects, dentistry, ENT, and so many, because we need to build capacity. The same thing happening in School of Nursing in Gusau, because you need those nurses, especially even taking care of the primary healthcare centers in different locations where people may not have access. So you need to build manpower, and that's exactly what we're doing in order to attract medical personnel to be able to come and serve in Zamfara State and take care of the good people of Zamfara State. My vision is, I don't want any citizen of Zamfara State to go outside Zamfara looking for medical attention. That is what I intend to do, and I'm sure within the next couple of months, that will be achievable.
Well, I'm sure we have other things. Azu
Thank you very much. My question will be on security.
Yeah.
So as I pondered my visit to Zamfara State, I asked ChatGPT, and this was the question I asked. I said, is it safe to travel to Gusau, Zamfara State, Nigeria? And here was what ChatGPT responded to me, and I'd like you to respond to that. He says, and I quote, travel to Gusau, Zamfara State currently carries significant security risks and is generally not recommended for non-essential travel. What would be your response to that?
Well, thank you very much. Let me also go back down history line about insecurity in Zamfara State. Within the last 13 years, it has been hell in terms of the security situation of the state. Things have gone really bad as far as security is concerned, yes. But the good thing now is the narratives are changing. Security has improved significantly in Zamfara State. If you go back to statistics, you're a journalist, you have records, you keep records, and it's a wall of record. Compared to the number of cases you had of people being kidnapped or people being killed in different parts of Zamfara State, and compared to what is happening right now, the answer is it has dropped down drastically. And we're making conscious effort to make sure Zamfara is free from banditry, kidnapping, cattle rustling, and all sorts of security challenges. Yes, you're right. Whenever anybody tells you that he's going to Zamfara, you begin a night vision, prayer time, everything, because you're going into a war zone. But you tell me, you travel by road from Zaria to Zamfara, what have you seen? General Obasanjo made a comment that all that he had about Zamfara, or he was sharing about Zamfara, the first thing that catches his eyes was the fact that farmers were all back into their farmlands. Busy, the road was busy. You haven't heard of any blockade of any road or somebody being kidnapped within the last couple of months in Zamfara State. So the answer is security is improving, and we made conscious effort to improve the security situation of this state. When I took over, I realized I had to come with a different initiative, and that was what informed my decision as a governor to come up with what we call the CPG, Community Protection Guard. These community protection guards, we employed over 3,000 of them, fully trained by military and the DSS as well as police. But before we even went into that, we had to go to State Assembly to have a legislation so that they would be legal. And we got that. And when we did that, we engaged the DSS to profile every individual that will be employed as part of the CPG in Zamfara State. So after the screening, they presented the list, and it was on that basis we employed them. And when we employed them, we gave them proper training in terms of how to deal with the situation, in terms of what they're expected to do. They are not there to hunt anybody, but they are there to protect the community. And the good thing is, We employ these guys from all the local government. The reason why we did that is because we realize we need to have the locals, because everything the insecurity in Zamfara State is local. There is no any foreign intervention. It's our own people. So these guys, they understand the terrain. And the good thing is, even the conventional security, they use them to go around into all these areas because they know who they are. And it helps. And they are always the first line of defense. And we spend so much money providing all the logistics, providing all the kits, ammunition, guns and everything. So it is really a good thing that we do. And I'm happy with that initiative because it has given hope to the people. People now realize, yes, there's presence of security and there's presence of government. And it's a continuous thing, and we'll continue that engagement.
Onoha.
Okay, Mr. Governor.
Yes.
Why did the situation get so bad before you came on board? That's one. And secondly, what level of cooperation are you getting from security agencies, the police, the army, the Air Force? And I'm asking this question because we hear in other places where security agencies get information and they don't act very well. And then lastly, your predecessor is the Minister of Defense State. How does that impact on you?
Mr. Onoha, thank you very much for that question. First of all, let me make it very clear to everyone that there's a proper coordination and understanding between the CPG as well as the conventional security in Zamfara State, be it the military, police, civil defense, as well as the DSS. Now, part of the engagement when I took over was to make conscious effort to visit all the security chiefs, Chief of Army Staff, Chief of Air Staff, Chief of Naval Staff, as well as the Chief of Defense Staff and the NSA. First of all, to understand what federal government is doing and where we need collaboration and cooperation so as to work seamlessly, because my main goal is to secure Zamfara State. And I've gotten some of those cooperation. And of course, it is something that is ongoing because people come, people go. So you have to continue with that kind of engagement. More importantly also, as a state governor, I'm ever ready, and I always do that by either helping financially or fueling, the conventional security, just to make sure they maintain law and order in Zamfara State. So there's that engagement. I've been to Ministry of Defense. I've had meetings with the senior minister to complain and explain the situation in Zamfara State. And he also came here to see for himself what we're going through. And we went around, he saw what is happening, and they are cooperating. So it's an ongoing thing. We'll continue the engagement. It's not a one-day thing, and because it's something that we inherited for the past 13 years. Now, coming back to the root causes, yes, previous government were here. I believe they have done their best. They're taking certain decisions, good or bad. As a leader, you must take certain decisions. But that is by the way. My main concern now, as the chief executive of Zamfara State, is to secure Zamfara from all these menace of banditry, kidnapping, and all other related crimes in Zamfara State. And I'm happy. Like I said, things are getting better, and we will not relent in this effort. It's one of the reasons why you're here, because you can see for yourself. And I'm sure you've gone around the city, you've seen there's a normal, it's just a normal thing. Sometimes there's media hype, sometimes, opposition will go and post different information. For example, there was a time, they posted so many things that did not even happen in Nigeria. There was a lady that they said, she was beaten here, she was this and that. And when we did a fact check, you realize that it wasn't even in Nigeria. The same thing, the last lady that they said we converted a lady, a Christian into Muslim, blah, blah, blah. And by the time we even check, the lady does not even exist here. It's a lady in the United States. So sometimes the media contributed in sending negative information, but it's not your fault. It's based on what was given to you. And that is why we had to quickly counter the narrative to make a very straight and factual thing.
Your Excellency, in Africa we have this proverb that says that when you kill a snake, you do not
kill the head.
Off, its head. You may not have actually succeeded in dealing with your challenge.
Yes.
I suppose my colleague asked that question about the root cause of this issue because there is the issue of the Fulani and the Hausa challenges that, probably was one of the major challenges that led to what we have today. How have you dealt with this issue?
Let me say this, which is really unfortunate. If you look at Zamfara State, we are one people, 99.9% Hausa, Fulani, predominantly Muslims. And the question I always ask is, why this is happening? What could have been the reason? When I did my finding, it was just a little disagreement between a Hausa man and a Fulani. And the issue was not handled properly then. And the other party felt somehow they didn't get justice in terms of what government was supposed to do. And then they decided to take laws into their hands. And they went to one village and killed about 2 people. And they were still expecting government to react and protect them and take the necessary action. That didn't happen. So they lost that grudge. And from there, just started escalating. And in that kind of situation, once you don't contain a situation from the beginning and you just allow it to linger, this is the result. Because I cannot imagine why would somebody, look, if you go around to these villages, even the people they kill, these are peasants. They hardly have something to eat. When people speak about insecurity, if you go to Niger Delta, I can understand. They are fighting for economic independence and so on and so forth. And some are fighting for religion because you feel your religion is superior to this. But in Zamfara State, I said we're 99.9% Muslims. Hausa, Fulani. So what could have been the reason? Now, let's stop all the blame game. Let's face reality. What do we need to do? Part of what I said, as a governor, I'm now a governor of Zamfara State. So every citizen of Zamfara State is under Lawal. It doesn't matter whether you're PDP, APC, or you're doing party, or you don't do politics. And it's my responsibility for the safety of their lives and properties. What am I supposed to do? I have to make conscious effort by whatever means to protect lives and properties of the citizens of Zamfara State. And that's what I'm doing. However, it's not going to be an easy thing. Something that lingers within the last 13 years. It will be difficult within a short period of time, under 2 years, to be able to say you're able to manage the situation and it doesn't exist. Now, part of what I understand is, and I made it very clear to everyone that, look, what is the problem? Is it about building schools? I'm ready to build schools all over. What does it cost to build a classroom? It's just blocks and zinc. What does it take to build a primary health care? How much does it cost? What does it cost to provide borehole? If these are the issues, I say let's all come together, and I'm ready to provide all these things for you so that we can live in peace.
Okay, now let's bring in
Well, Your Excellency, we all know that security operations require adequate funding. And the information out there is that Zamfara is the poorest state in Nigeria, and you're here to confirm whether or not that is true. So, how do you ensure adequate funding for frontline responses?
Well, Olodunmoke, it is true security requires financing. And of course, you're right. Zamfara State happens to be the least in terms of FAC allocation compared to other states. And therefore, we have to make conscious effort to find a way to be able to finance the security operations. Because without security, what can you do? That is number one priority. And the next is education. So we're still managing from the little resources. And we're also looking elsewhere to people who are ready to assist. And we're getting that assistance. Like I said to you, there is no conventional security that we don't fund in one way or the other, including the community protection guards. We provide logistics for them. Just last month, I bought brand new 140 vehicles and gave it to the security operative in order to assist in going around. And these are brand new cars. Some are bulletproof, some are APCs, in order to help going around for logistics. I'm the one fueling all the operations. Because if it means spending 80% of your money to have peace, you rather do that than doing anything. At least people should be able to live in peace. People should be able to sleep with their eyes closed. So yes, we're doing that. But the good thing also, we're working on our internally generated revenue. And in as much as Zamfara State is the poor state, in terms of solid minerals, Zamfara State is blessed because we have the highest mineral deposit. The only problem is we still couldn't put this thing together. And part of what we're doing right now is to formalize the mining sector. So there's cooperation with the states and the federal government to see how do we formalize the mining sector. If I take you to some of this side where they bring gold, you'd be amazed. We test the lithium. We have the highest quality of lithium in the world. And look at everything now is about batteries. So we're making conscious effort to have factories built. We engage private sector because you need PPP to get to that. And within the shortest possible time, you'll get to hear about the mining industry in Zamfara State. So that will complement the financial aspect, which means we'll be able to do this, transform the state's infrastructure, education, employment, name it. And I think by the time we do that, that will change the narrative. I'm sure you'll be flying from Lagos to Gusau to come and look for gold or to look for copper.
Thank you. Thank you, Your Excellency. Still
Yes,
staying on this issue of security.
Yes.
Yesterday we drove through
Funtua,
Safi.
Yeah.
And those were two local governments notorious for being the hotbed of banditry. Yeah.
Yes.
But we're told that the peace that we saw there yesterday was as a result of the efforts of the community protection guards that you set up. So that means you are recording successes.
Oh, yeah.
Doesn't that, this good story, doesn't it reinforce the fact that the glass ceiling of this issue of state police has been shattered? And if that is so, don't you think as the one that pioneered this thing that has been able to restore peace to Zamfara, to some degree, you should now be the poster boy on this issue of state police?
Absolutely. I'm actually for state police. I've written my letter to NEC agreeing that, yes, we should have state police. Because the issue now is As chief security officers, we also need to have some element of command and control of the security forces, because we live with these people, we live with the community, we understand their challenges, and we should be able, as responsible government, make conscious effort to secure their lives and properties. So, and still we're doing so much. For example, the community protection guard is more like an internal police, because they are the first line of defense in their respective communities. We provide transportation for them, their kitchens, everything from helmet, life jacket and everything, uniform, fueling, salaries and everything. So we're almost there. So let's make it formal. Let me know I have my people that I can give directives, I can give order, go and do this. And the good thing is, you get these people locally because they live from within the community. They understand the community. All these bandits that you're talking about, they are our own people. So, I'm an advocate of state police.
Okay, Your Excellency. I think we'll take a few follow-up questions on the issue of security. We have a long list.
Absolutely.
We'll still talk about infrastructure, health, empowerment, and all of that. But very quickly, in response to what you said, okay, I'll come to you after I've asked this question.
Yes.
Now,
Ruben.
you say you are the governor of everybody,
Yes.
and yet you say you are on a rescue mission.
Yes.
You took over from, I think, Governor Matawale.
Matawale, yes.
As he then was.
Yes.
So he didn't do anything. That's what you are trying to rescue. Is that what I'm hearing? And then secondly, Zamfara State belongs to Northwest Development Commission.
That was newly created.
Yes, it's new. But there's also a 10-year plan for development in the Northwest among the governors and leaders in this area. What level of cooperation are you getting from your brother governors in the region? Because if a bandit escapes from Zamfara, they can go to neighboring states. They go to Katsina, they go to any other state. If there's no commitment to fight banditry in those adjoining states, it's like but what's the level of synergy that you see?
It is a very important question, Ruben, that you ask. Part of what we did as 7 Northwest governors, especially Zamfara, Sokoto, Kebbi, Katsina, Kano, and Jigawa. Kano and Jigawa, they are not having this kind of crisis for whatever reason, because I think from day one, they were able to contain it even when Boko Haram started. And part of what they did was, there was that synergy among the people of Kano State and Jigawa, where they refused to shield anybody. And remember, Kano is a business community, and they don't want anything that will affect their business. Because in the long run, if they allow that to happen, it means everything will cripple. So there was a proper cooperation, and they realized if my son is involved in all sort of crime, I'll just bring him out and hand him over to the security. We didn't do that in this part of the world. Now, having realized this major challenge, as Northwest governors, we felt there's a need to have synergy, like you just mentioned, whereby we work together, come up with a strategy of containing the situation. And part of what I agreed then was to set up our own independent security outfit. I remember Katsina started with their own watch guards, followed by Zamfara, after which Sokoto also launched their own, and so is Kebbi. That is one. 2, there must be constant engagement and sharing information, because, like you said, I can do so much in Zamfara, which is also the hope of banditry. Once they realize I'm doing something effective, they will leave Zamfara. And they have done that over and over, and they move into Kaduna or Niger or Sokoto and create havoc. This is one of the reasons why I was against the peace plan that they initiated. I said, look, whatever it is that we're going to do, let it be very, very holistic. Bring everybody on board, understand the issues, and begin to propose solutions to all the issues. So cooperation among the states is key to containing the situation. Otherwise, I may be doing so much here to contain the situation, and the next thing they move to Katsina, or they move to Niger, as the case may be. So it is an ongoing process. I remember at the last Northern Governors meeting in Kaduna last month, security was the main topic. What do we do collectively? Because it affects everybody. Okay. And without peace, there will be no meaningful development.
So, Governor, we'll take one more follow-up question, and then we'll go on break, and then when we come back, we may still continue with this security matter.
Absolutely.
Because it's the major. Azu wants to ask a question, Aruleba wants to ask a question. Who will go first?
Just very quickly,
yes,
to build on what Dr. Abati asked.
Yes.
And you talked about synergy. My question is on strategy. You operate a no negotiation policy as far as banditry is concerned. Katsina operates a policy of negotiation with bandits. I mean, we saw clearly yesterday's situation where Ado Alero was being hosted, by the state. How do you deal with a situation where you're talking about cooperation, you're talking about synergy, but obviously on the point of strategy, yourself and some of your neighboring states act differently. How do you deal with that sort of situation?
Okay, yes, let's take Aruleba's question.
Okay, then I
we
can
go on break.
Sure.
We'll give you time to then respond when we return from that break.
Thank you, Robert. Well, there have been some roadblocks on this issue of state police, and I'm surprised you didn't address them when I asked the question on state police initially. One, you probably had addressed one, the issue of funding. The fear had been, if you allow states to create police forces of their own, would they be committed to funding such outfits? But you seem to have addressed that. But there are still some fears left. One is the issue of possible misuse of such outfits. What would be your response to that?
Okay. What is happening with the conventional security right now? Are they not being misused in one way or the other?
Well, on that note, let's take a short break. Now, if you're watching us, we're broadcasting live from the office of the Governor of Zamfara State, Governor Dauda Lawal, on the occasion of his second anniversary in office as Governor of Zamfara State. He says he's on a rescue mission, and he's been giving us an account of how he's trying to rescue the situation in Zamfara State and ensure progress, development, and quality of life for the benefit of the people of Zamfara State. We'll take this short break, and when we return, the governor would respond to the two follow-up questions that have been asked by Aruleba and Azu Ishekwene. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
The last meeting we had in Abuja with the NSA, myself, the governor of Katsina, governor of Sokoto, as well as Kebbi, we were all on the same page. However, like you rightly pointed out, 2 days ago, there was this clip where Ado Aleri was in Katsina for a piece. Honestly, I don't know who organized that piece because I haven't had anything from the governor of Katsina. And I was trying to get hold of him to find out what actually happened. There could be an explanation, which I don't have. But as of the last time we met, we were all on the same page on no negotiation with any bandit.
Does that video give you concern?
Well, yes, I was. But like I said, I don't want to jump into conclusion. Let me find out what actually happened. It could be with his knowledge, and it could be without his knowledge. Because if federal government wants to do that, there's nothing you can do. So I may not be able to give a tentative answer to that question as to what happened. But like I said, as at the last meeting we had, collectively, we agree on non-negotiation. And we even gave a framework under which, if there's going to be any, then those processes must be followed. And as at the last time we went with the NSA, we have not finalized on the way forward because they are still studying the submission.
Well, Governor, you've touched on the subject of infrastructure.
Yes.
In the health sector, in the education sector, and also the roads that President Obasanjo commissioned. This morning, we went to a place in Gusau local government where you are constructing an airport.
Yes.
We know it's not a new airport, but you've taken it over. You've more or less started afresh. 3.4 kilometers of runway. We also saw the terminal building. The civil engineer on duty took us through all the plans and all of that. Now, this airport in Gusau, Zamfara State, why do you think it's important? And the controversy around it. Your predecessor, Governor Matawale, as he was then, erected one structure.
I'm sure you've seen the terminal.
Yeah. So we were told that that structure, was meant to be demolished, but it's still standing there. Then we saw the terminal building. Tell us more about this airport.
Well, Ruben, first of all, thank you very much, and I'm glad you went and saw the new airport, as well as the proposed airports under Matawale's administration. Now, when I came up with the concept of airports, I had to call all the regulatory bodies to understand what have they done first. And I invited 3 different consultants to come and tell me, based on the structures on ground, does it stand the test of safety and everything, and even the costing. And the answer from 3 different consultants at different times, they said, look, we should forget about that, because there was not even any regulatory approval as far as that was concerned. So it's a no-go area. I said, okay, tell me how much money was spent on that. And at different times, they all came to conclusion that about 2 billion naira was spent on that airport. But meanwhile, what we have on record, we had 8.6 billion taken. 3 different consultants. The only difference was about 200,000 naira from 3 different, including the Ministry of Works. Now, to avoid any litigation, I said, okay, you know what? Let me just go and start afresh. And I had to call all the regulators, because you're talking about airports. You're dealing with people's life. Safety is key to everything we do. And I invited the Honorable Minister of Aviation, Festus Keyamo, and he came with the team to do a proper assessment, to give us the go-ahead to start, because what I wanted to do is to construct a standard international airport for Zamfara. And I'll tell you why. Reason being, looking at the situation of Zamfara State, we need to open up the state. Ruben, I just told you about what Zamfara is blessed with, solid minerals. Tell me, if you don't have an airport, would you invite any investor to travel by road with all the negative information about security to come and put his money in Zamfara State? The answer is no. 2, look at beyond airport. By the time we finish this airport, you're creating employment. I just had a meeting with the Qataris, and I had a meeting with the Saudis. There's a special grain that they need that we grow here. They are ready to provide funding for our farmers to grow those grass, for their animals, to be sending cargo to come and take their leaves. What do you think will happen in terms of revenue? So that is why it is essential to have this airport, to open up the state for potential investors. And even cost of governance. With the security situation now, you need to have somebody that can just fly under 20, 30 minutes, do your business, and get out of it. But of course, the local component also, in terms of the number of people that will be employed, the revenue generation that you'll be getting is something. So that is why you see that structure as it is. Whoever has any issue can come and look at that structure. I didn't touch it. I've concentrated on doing a brand new terminal and a brand new runway. And you've been there. And I'm confirming to you, by end of July, that runway will be completed. And it's a standard international runway by any standard. Any plane can land in Zamfara State, irrespective of the size. The same thing, the terminal. You've seen the terminal?
Yeah, we all wonder. As well.
My next question, Your Excellency, is on water, if I may.
Yeah.
Since we're talking about it.
Yeah.
And so there's a report that only 30% of people in Zamfara State have access to potable water. Isn't it amazing that whereas politicians can reach all 14 local governments when it's time to campaign and for elections, water can only get to only 30% of the population of the state? What are you doing about that?
That statistics, as far as Zamfara State is concerned, is wrong. And I'll tell you why. When I took over on May 31st, 2023, for good 5 months, there was no drop of water in Gusau as the capital.
So 30% is even overestimated?
I'm giving history.
Okay.
When I took over, for 5 good months, there was no single drop of water in Gusau, which is the capital. Talk less of other rural areas. But I was able to solve that in 3 days. And since then, there has been water, constant supply of water in Zamfara State. Now, looking at the water board, it was an old system, and all the previous regime, nobody did anything to either improve on the condition or do something new. That's one. Two, when the barrage was built, Gusau was a local government, a very small town. Now there's so much expansion because of buildings, new structures are coming on everything. I already had consultants, engineers to come and give me a holistic way to transform this water board so that every corner of the city will have water. And we're on that. We've gone far. It will be completely remodeled to serve the community. Now, going back to local government, having realized the challenges of water, we started with Maradun local government. For months and years, there was no water. And we're able to restore water. In most of these communities, I can give you data, you can verify. I have information where we have done so much in terms of providing water to community, either through motorized borehole or even the conventional borehole. So it's an ongoing process.
Nora? Okay. Maybe on Nora.
Okay, the Zamfara is 29 years old, having been created in 1996.
Yeah.
Are you satisfied with the level of infrastructure development as one? And then what effort are you making to develop other cities apart from Guzu?
Honestly, the answer in terms of satisfied with the level of infrastructure in Zamfara State, the answer is no. In May 2023, if you had come to Zamfara, and thank God we keep record of everything, you cannot move in Gusau on a 200 meters on a good road. You've gone around today, or yesterday, I don't know, whether yesterday or today. What have you seen? Total restructuring of the road network with proper drainages all across. And it's not just happening in Gusau. We're also constructing roads in other local governments. However, there are local governments that have so much road that they don't even know what to do. They allow the animals and they dry their produce on the road because they don't even have cars to fly the road. So even when we're doing the budgeting process, we did bottom-top budgeting in order of priority. If I go to your local government, first of all, I understand what are your basic needs. Categorize them into 1, 2, 3, and then tell me what you need. I may have something that I want to do, but maybe that's not what you need. And that was exactly the budgeting process that we did. And I'm confirming to you, there is no single local government in Zamfara State that have not done work of between 5 to 10 billion naira. Go and check. You're a journalist. I'll give you all the facts. Either school, hospital, water, or road.
Your Excellency, as you said, from the time we were coming yesterday to early this morning when we stepped out, we actually saw that at least, some part of Gusau and some other parts of the state that we've actually passed through are basically construction sites.
Yes.
Which is good. But what about the issue of compensations, for the disruptions? Houses. When we went to the airport, we saw that some communities had to be displaced. Are you paying compensation?
Oh, we paid everybody. In fact, before we embark on all this, even the internal roads from within the city, because if you go around to the inner city of Zamfara, of Buso, you see a lot of demolition of houses. I'm confirming to you that every individual was paid, including the airport. I had to call the traditional leader of that village to say, look, we're going to pay everybody. What I wanted to do was to pay everybody into his own account, but unfortunately, not all of them had accounts. And therefore, we had to call the community leader to identify everybody and to sign that I have collected my money. That was when, because there were a lot of crises, that was when we were able even to fence the airport. So compensation, everybody was paid. Anywhere we're doing construction, that is factored in. Nobody is owing us.
All right, Your Excellency, earlier we saw a newly constructed Ministry of Women and Children Affairs, and well furnished, I must say. But beyond the building, do you have a dedicated budget for women-focused initiatives, and how is it being utilized?
What I realize is women play dominant role even in the political aspect of this state, because during my election, I know the role women played. And when a woman tells you she's going to do that, she will. And I saw that commitment on their own part. So everything I do now as a governor, I factored the women. Not just the offices. In terms of empowerment, there are so many things we're doing to empower the women, because when you empower them, you can hold them responsible. Be rest assured, when they say they will do it, they will do it. So, yes, everything is being factored in, and we're making conscious effort to make sure we make them happy, comfortable, and something that can be sustainable going forward.
Sorry. Sorry, Your Excellency. My question is going to be a cross-cutting one.
Yes.
But I will properly situate it in what we saw in the health sector.
Yeah.
And it was when we visited that specialist hospital that I then realized why former President Obasanjo, a man so stingy with praises, will shower such praises on you as a man who is delivering on his rescue mission. State-of-the-art equipment and all of that, but we're very worried about one thing, and that has to do with sustainability.
Absolutely.
How do you sustain all of these brand new state-of-the-art, probably first in Nigeria type of equipment that we saw there? How are you worried about how to sustain it? And then do you have the required skill to not just operate these facilities, but to also maintain them?
That has also been my major concern. As a matter of fact, yesterday at about 5 p.m., I called for a meeting with the Nigerian Medical Association. Luckily, even the president of the Nigerian Medical Association was here with all the team of the medical doctors. And I expressed the same fear that, look, it's not about putting this is about sustainability. How are you going to be able to maintain this? Now, part of what we did now, the same person that supplied these machines, I had to hold him on a retainership for now to be able to look after those equipment. And also part of the agreement we had even before the construction was about training. Training and retraining of personnel that will be able to look after those machines and be able to operate them the way they should be operated. So that has been part of the plan put in place to guard against that fear. I had exactly the same fear about that. But I think that has been mitigated by what the consultant told me and what he's doing now. So he's fully responsible, he's fully in charge across all the hospitals. Yeah, and we're putting the new information health management system whereby if you visit, for example, Anchor Hospital and then you're in Gusau, your information is already in the system. So the history is there. Not only that, even the drugs, how you supply all these drugs and everything, you have to monitor because, one thing about us is that trust. So we want to guard against all these, little issues here and there, and eventually we'll have an effective system. Whenever you start something, there may be some teething problem here and there, but you continue to improve until you get to a level that you're comfortable with. That is what we're doing, just like we're doing with schools.
Okay, Governor, let's go back to the issue of education and empowerment.
Yes.
In 2023, as at the time you were taking over, UNICEF reported that Zamfara ranked among 5 of the states with the largest number of out-of-school children.
Absolutely.
Now, that again was not strange because at the time you took over, the state was owing NECO for about 4 years.
Yeah.
The state had not paid
2011
exam fees. WAEC was also being owed a lot of money.
Yes.
Well, when you took over, one of the things we had was that you paid off the debts. But what are you doing to encourage school enrollment? Because it's not enough to renovate schools, to rebuild schools. What of the students in those schools that you need to empower?
First of all, Ribon, when I took over, unfortunately in 2023, Zamfara students did not even write WAEC and NECO. Unfortunately, because they were owing the state government billions of naira. And since 2011, they were not able to release their certificate, both NECO and WAEC. And for me, education is the bedrock of everything. It's not something you can play with. And you're right, the statistics shows that Zamfara is just the letter Z at the bottom, which was one of the reasons why I had to declare state of emergency in education. The first thing I did was to call WAEC and NECO, sit on the table, agree that I will settle the date. And immediately I paid WAEC 1.4 billion, I think. NECO 1.2 billion. So we spent about 2.6 billion to settle that. And with that, we're able to get all the certificates of the previous years and hand it over to students to enable them secure either employment or admission into other tertiary institutions. I haven't realized that also. I look at the condition of the schools. I'm happy to tell you, as of today, I have renovated over 500 schools across the state, fully furnished. Now, it's not just about the furnishing also. When you have all the classes and everything, who man those classes? And also we made conscious effort to employ new teachers. But not just employing them, you have to go into partnership in terms of training, because you can have, everybody can apply and tell you he wants to be a teacher. But when you get to classroom, it's a different ballgame. So training is key. And I also had to go around all the private school to see what do they teach. And we now introduce a curriculum and it's synchronized. And with the help of the likes of this program of Agile, is what we're using also to encourage the girls to get to school. Remember also Zamfara being an Islamic state, Sharia, blah, blah, blah. They were not encouraging the girls to go to school. We had to also make conscious effort to engage with the parents. To say, look, this is not what you're thinking. And also, having realized those challenges, I said, okay, let me come up with something new where we can blend Western education and Islamic education. And I've decided to build 3 different schools, mega schools in 3 different senatorial districts. I built one in Gumi, and it was commissioned by the Sultan, where there is a blend of Western and Islamic education. I did one in Gusau here. You can see it is along the airport. And I did one in Karanamoda. At the same time now, we incentivize parents to send their children to school because the level of poverty, Ruben, is beyond imagination. Some cannot afford to pay 1,000 naira to send his child to school. That is how terrible it is. So we have to make conscious of it to see how do we key in, how do we assist them, what do we do to help them even to get enrollment. Scholarship, feeding program is all in place. Because without education, I mean, we're here because we're educated. So you can imagine the danger of not educating the youth. It's something that must be done. So we make conscious effort to do that. Settle everything, settle everybody, and then they're back to school now. Go to see the enrollment now has gone far. And it's something that we have to continue to encourage the people. We also have to do so much to change the mindset of people that, look, allow your children to go to school. There's advantage. There's so much you can do. Look at me as a governor. Today, by the grace of God, I'm the governor because I also went to school. You go to hospital. Who takes care of you? A medical doctor. If they didn't go to school, how will they take care of you? So these are some of the things we're doing, conscious effort, psychological changing the mindset of people to key into some of these programs. And I'm happy to say that this statistics has gone down drastically, unlike in the past.
So my question is on budget, on implementation of capital projects.
Yeah.
Because records that I have seen suggest that poor implementation of capital budgets is one of the major problems of Zamfara since up till the time you came into office.
Yeah.
And you gave a few examples of the airport, of the state of infrastructure in the state, and so forth and so on. So my question is on accountability. What is your government doing to make itself accountable? If, for example, leadership writes to the state government, or Arise, or AIT, or TVC, or Leadership, or Trust, or SON, to say under the Freedom of Information Act, are you prepared to disclose expenditures to the public so that members of the public who have a right to know will know how your government is spending the resources of the people? And finally, from me for now, did you declare your assets as required under the Code of Conduct? Those are the 2 questions for me.
Let me start with the last one.
Yes.
Yes, I did declare my assets.
Publicly.
It's a public information there. You can always get the information. 2, having realized the challenges in Zamfara State, first of all, let me tell you, there's a serious manpower issue. There's serious issue in terms of functions and process because it doesn't exist. The budgeting process, I cannot remember those years when there was proper budgeting. But this time around, we have a very young, talented, the youngest commissioner in Nigeria who happens to be the commissioner of budgets. And he's doing extremely well in terms of the budgeting system. From August, he will start going around all the local government and the emirates to understand what do they need so that we can factor them into the capital projects. So like I told you, we did bottom-top approach. Now, having realized also there are challenges in terms of processes, we made conscious effort to put all the structures in place, from the commissioner, permanent secretary, directors, to the lowest grade, to understand, because everybody has a KPI. So our financial transactions are so open and transparent that anybody can have access to. On top of that, I do hold quarterly performance review where I invite all the commissioners, permanent secretaries, head of agencies with a dashboard as to what our finances are. And I ask questions. Let me tell you also, if you look at the revenue profile of Zamfara State today, it's entirely a different story. When I took over, our IGR in Zamfara State was 90 million naira. That 90 million naira, 85% of that 90 million was payee. But today, I'm happy to tell you that we have passed over the 2 billion naira mark month on month, and it's growing on a monthly basis, incremental. So there's a total transparency and accountability in this system. If you want me to give you all our finances today, believe me, we have a website. You can even visit our website. You can view everything. Nothing is hidden.
We'll hold you to your word.
Hold me. Yes.
Oh, no.
Okay.
I can give it to you if you want today. I can give you the website. Go and check.
How are you dealing with the Alamajiri issue?
You
And
know-
what model will you recommend to the entire North to solve the problem?
You know, when I spoke about the Angaya school, that is the Islamic and the Western education, is a model to try to discourage Al-Majri. It's the same Al-Majri, that blend into the system. Look, it's a full school whereby the teachers, Islamic teachers, conventional teachers are there. We provide food for them. Everything is there. I wish maybe my media person will take you to the one in Gusau here so that you can just see the model. It was a conscious effort to remove Al-Majri from the street into, what do you call it, modern education, so that they can also benefit. Because, it is something that we also had to do so much and convince even the Malam that, no, we're not just trying to take your children away and teach them Western education, but they also learn the Islamic education. But at the end of the day, they will have something, maybe a certificate that will be able to do something with their life. So,
Your Excellency, food is a very critical ingredient
food
of
security.
existence.
Absolutely.
So any community that cannot feed itself is also an insecure community. Happily, your state is an agrarian one.
Absolutely. In
What
fact,
are you doing to enhance agricultural
in fact, let me tell you
productivity?
our motto.
Yes.
Our motto in Zamfara is farming is our pride.
So what are you doing?
I haven't realized also 80% of the population are farmers. We came up with incentives to encourage the farmers to go back to farm, especially now the security is coming much better and people are able to go back to their farms. We distribute fertilizer. In fact, by next week, I'll start distributing the fertilizer for this rainy season. We give them seedlings, we give them insecticide, we give them power tillers so that they can use this and improve productivity in terms of their farming. And we're also introducing the commodity board, whereby if you produce, we will buy. You will have off-takers, so there is nothing to fear.
Are the beneficiaries PDP members or
No.
people from across all the political
If you
parties?
check the records, I made it very clear that I was a governor, I'm a governor of Zamfara State. So it's not for PDP, it's for everybody.
Your Excellency, two questions.
Yes.
I'd like to take I have a follow-up on the issue of infrastructure.
Yeah.
Is it true that in the whole of Zamfara, before you became governor, there was no traffic lights for the whole of Zamfara? And second, Your Excellency, education. Last year, you launched an 11.7 billion project for adolescent girls.
Yeah.
Has that yielded the desired result?
Absolutely.
Are there strategies on ground to ensure that
We have mega schools now, which is part of the Agile program, and is in all the 3 senatorial districts. And that has helped in terms of the girl child education, and it's functioning very, very well. And it is true, there was nothing like traffic lights in Zamfara State until we came on board. I'm also, let me even confess, we don't have a single lift in Zamfara State, but if you look at the 4-star hotel that we're building now, there's a provision for a lift. We're building an international airport. We should also have a standard airport where people can, look, Zamfara Gusau used to be a very cosmopolitan local government then, where we had all the Chinese, the North American people, very lively place. I don't know what happened that everything just turned the other way. But yes, this is the first traffic light, and it's all over now, and it will extend to other local governments.
Congratulations on the traffic light. For breaking the ice. for breaking that ice.
And we are law abiding. If you go to the street now, you see there will be the traffic light.
We saw that.
You saw that?
Yes,
okay.
we did. Now my question is going to be, when you were answering the question about revenue and all of that,
yeah,
you talked about the payee system.
Yes.
I like to believe that in addition to that, you also probably get funding from the federal allocation.
Oh yeah, I mean, that is given.
But considering the level of work you are doing and what you have spent, I'm wondering whether mining is also not contributing to your revenue profile. If so, isn't there a question of equity here? Because mining is deemed to be a natural resource, right? Just like crude oil. Now, if crude is found in a particular part of the country and the people don't have access to it, they can't claim ownership of it, why should Zamfara claim ownership of anything found under the soil or under its soil?
Thank you very much. That has been a very, very controversial issue even at the federal level. And I remember our first meeting with the Honorable Minister of Solid Minerals, Alake, that they are coming up with a framework under which mining activities will be conducted. And the question I asked him then was, yes, mining is on exclusive list. However, the land belongs to the state. So there must be some kind of collaboration and cooperation between the state and the federal government so as to understand what they are doing and what we are doing, and we marry the two together. That is one. Two, I don't have issue in terms of the revenue sharing formula because I want money. But what we're doing now, it has nothing to do with revenue from mining. We haven't reached there because I have not seen a dime from there. So, but we're getting to that level. However, we're being financial prudence. As a former banker, a former executive director of a bank, I should be able to have financial discipline. And that is why we're doing everything. All these projects that you've seen, I'm happy to tell you that I did not borrow one single dime from any financial institution. It's the resources that we utilize. And I'm happy also to tell you that for every contract that you see or project that you see in Zamfara State, the money is kept so that no project will stop. So to cut it and make it straight, we are not stealing the money.
Okay, Governor, good to hear.
Financial prudence.
Yeah, but now we're on the home run in the course of this conversation. We can't stay on this for the rest of the day. So we're going to be asking general questions. We have just a few more minutes. One, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu was in Benue today.
Yes.
And the big issue there is about insecurity and all that. And I'm sure you must have been following what's happening in Benue.
Yes.
Yeah, if you were in the same position as Father earlier, what are some of the steps you will probably take? And then beyond that, in this state, Zamfara State. You say you are the governor of everybody. And I asked you, are you also the governor of Matawale? Are you also the governor of Abdulaziz Yari? You are the first PDP person to become governor of this state, Zamfara, since return to civilian rule in 1999. What is the guarantee that those sacred forces of Zamfara, those powerful forces, will allow you to get a second term, having outsmarted them in 2023?
Let me throw back this question to you, Ruben. In 2003, all the powerful guys in APC, the ones we mentioned, and their deputies, were they not in APC? I happen to be the only person, and yet, what happened? God has made it possible for me. So the same God that gave me power in 2003 is the same God that I rely upon to give me power going forward. That is one. Two, yes, you're right. I'm the governor of Zamfara State, and I'm the governor of every citizen of Zamfara State. There's no two way about it. Now, what I'm doing with all the projects that are ongoing is for me to leave a legacy where people remember Dauda Lawal as the governor of Zamfara State that did X, Y, Z, that touches the lives of the people of Zamfara State. And that is why I told you when he asked about agriculture, when we're sharing fertilizer or every other implement, I made it very clear to everybody that it's not about PDP. It's about every citizen of Zamfara State, and I'm still on that. Anything that belongs to the people of Zamfara State is for everyone, and I'm on that. And power belongs to God, Ruben. Okay. So I'm a strong believer of God, and God will always do his miracle. If God says Dauda will return in 2027, nobody can turn it.
Any words of advice for them in Benue State? Benue?
The Benue State situation, unfortunately, is what all the governors, especially in this part of the country, the north, are facing. It may be peculiar to certain things, peculiar to Benue, and maybe certain things peculiar to Zamfara, but it's all about security challenges. And what we always say is we all must make conscious effort, come together as responsible leaders, and live up to the expectations of our people by protecting their lives and properties. That is what I believe in, and we still have to go back to drawing board to understand the root cause of this problem and what will be the way forward to solve this problem going forward.
You were, of course, you were in APC in 2018. You were before you moved over to the PDP.
Yes.
Now, you are the last man standing, the last PDP governor in the Northwest. Are you worried or concerned about talk about one-party state? Are you planning to return to your home, the APC where you started from?
I'm a PDP governor, and I still remain in PDP.
You are not worried about the one-party state?
Anything. Look, let me tell you, you see, I'm a very, very contented person. Very contented. And I believe in the power of God. God does as he pleases. If God says, I will be nobody.
But those in APC also believe in the power of God.
Well, it may be just in the mouth, but you know, it's from the heart.
One pastor said the same thing. He has not defected to the
No. Honestly,
before he reported.
You see, I'm not desperate about anything. I'm a very, very contented person. And I believe if God says you will be, you will be. Nobody will change it. That's true.
Okay, PDP has a festering crisis, and it appears that there is no solution. The governors have not been able to solve it. What are the issues? And if you were solely given the responsibility to solve the problem, what will you do?
Well, let me make a statement here. There is no party that is not in crisis in one way or another. It may vary. Yes, PDP are having internal crisis, but these are things that will be solved. We're going to have next meeting on the 30th of this month. And part of what we're going to discuss is all those issues that are ongoing in the party. And I'm sure we'll come up with a solution. There's no problem that has no solution. So it's a temporary thing. I'm not worried about that.
What is the guarantee that the NEC will actually hold on the 30th? Because there are reports that INEC has actually turned down the notice sent to it by the national chairman of the PDP. Because the notice does not have a concurrence of the national secretary, where you actually have a very big challenge that you have been unable to address.
It's an ongoing process, and I'm sure there will always be a window here and there. It's not just a one window to do this thing. So, like I said, I'm a very optimistic person. I don't get worried about crises here and there. They're part of human nature anyway. So, but what matters is remain focused and believe in what you do and deliver the dividend of democracy, just like we are doing in Zamfara State.
But Your Excellency, you're part of, or you're a member of that reconciliatory committee.
Yes.
Chaired by Bukola Saraki.
Yeah.
And you've just said that every party has its own challenge. What exactly are you guys trying to fix? What problem are you trying to fix?
Well, I'm sure Jumeke, is, like I say, it's an internal thing that maybe somebody felt he was not treated the right way or that, so there's really nothing that is unsurmountable. And yes, I was part of the reconciliatory committee, and it's still ongoing and will continue until we get it resolved. And it will be resolved.
All right, let me take you away from politics back to what should be of paramount interest to you.
Yes.
And deny it if it's possible, which is that before you came in,
yes,
civil servants in this state were earning as high as 7,000 naira per month. That it was your regime that moved it from there to first 30,000 and something more.
Let me tell you what hit me the most when I took over. First, there was a backlog of 4-month salary that I had to deal with.
Deliberately made so.
But of course, when I checked the treasury, there was no money. And when I tell people that I made 4 million, people laugh. It's a fact. Look, I was a banker.
4 billion or
4 million naira. And true, when I came on board, the salary of a civil servant in Zamfara State was 7,000 naira. Letter 7, 6, 7. And I look at it and say, how can somebody live on 7,000 naira? And that was when I implement, after paying the backlog of the 4-month salary of everybody, political appointees, civil servant, and everything. I said, okay, look, let's jack it up to the then minimum wage of 30,000 naira. So everybody was paid 70,000 naira, and your leave allowances were paid. And in fact, I introduced 13-month salary. So that December, I was able to give civil servants 13-month salary bonus. And even during Christmas, I also gave them bonus. Now, with the minimum wage of 70,000, we have implemented the 70,000 naira both at state and local government. And we still give them 13-month salary, and we still give them bonuses.
Well, Governor Lawal, as we begin to wrap up now, let's just wrap up 2 things. 1, how much have you borrowed since your assumption of office? And how much are you planning to still borrow so as to be able to meet obligations? You have told the people of Zamfara State that you are running a transparent and accountable government
system.
But how much have you borrowed? I think the people would
Ruben,
like to know.
And let me also make a categorical statement here that I, Dawda Lawal, the governor of Zamfara State, did not borrow a dime from any financial institution from 2003 to date. Today is 18th of June 2025. I did not borrow a single kobo, and I'm financially okay. Stable.
Do you still plan to borrow? Because all these projects...
Look, let me tell you, Ruben, there's nothing wrong in borrowing if you have something to do to show. But I'm against borrowing when you borrow to steal the money without any project to show. As we speak, I'm still paying the previous date of the previous administration. I can show you the document. Direct deduction of 1.5 billion naira from the previous administration, it has now gone down to 1,118 million as at last FAC allocation. Direct deduction. I'm still paying the debt. I'm still servicing the debt. I still service the debt of KEDCO. When I took over, there was no electricity in all government functions in Zamfara State, ministries and parastatal, because they are owing 1.6 billion to KEDCO, Kaduna Electricity Distribution Company. I settled that. When I took over, I did not have one single car, official car, to use as a governor. Our liaison office in Kaduna, I had to pay 600 million to take it from litigation. As we speak, I'm still doing the Zamfara Abuja liaison office because when I took over, there was nothing. Everything was taken away. But it's not my priority because I have a house to live in Abuja. It's now that I'm fixing it. So I didn't borrow any kobo, and I don't plan to borrow. But if there's a need going forward, maybe. But right now, I'm not under any financial distress.
Yes, please.
Okay. I'd like to take you back to Jumoke's question about the problem with the PDP. You provided a very elegant answer, but in my view, you didn't answer the question. Our question, and I'd like to take you back to that question.
Sure.
There are some people who express the view that former Vice President Atiku Abubakar is the problem, his ambition to run again for presidency is fundamentally the problem with the PDP. Do you share that view?
I think I would not so much comment on that because honestly, everybody has his own issue. It's not just about Atiku Abubakar, it's beyond Atiku Abubakar. It's an internal problem within the PDP, and we're making conscious effort to solve the problem. I think it's about people's ego.
Which people?
All the members, everybody, no exception. Everybody.
Including yourself?
Yes.
Okay, any other question that anyone would like to ask?
About electoral reform.
Yes.
So will there ever be a free and fair election in the country? Do you think so?
I will say yes because I experienced it in Zamfara State with all the powerful people that can turn things around. With the might of the federal government and everything, yes, there was still a free and fair election in Zamfara State. That was what made me elected as the governor of Zamfara State. Ruben said it to you that I was the first elected PDP governor in Zamfara State. So it was a free and fair election, and I believe it will happen. It's a matter of time.
All right, Your Excellency, the challenge with IDPs, because I know you've made public your concern about the need for us as a country to domesticate our national policy on IDPs. And according to you, you said this would safeguard and protect the welfare and the rights of these Nigerians. Have you had a conversation with the Federal Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs on this? Is it still a critical condition in Zamfara State?
Oh, yes. We have had series of engagements with the ministry, and even 2 days ago, certain members of the ministry were here in Gusau to assess the situation and to see how they can also come in and what we can also do as a state to complement the effort of the federal government. So it's an ongoing process. They build some centers here, just some few kilometers out of Gusau, where we can resettle some of these IDPs. So it's an ongoing thing, and we'll continue to engage until we get it right.
Your Excellency, Benga spoke earlier about sustainability of some of your projects.
Yeah.
Now, taking you to the health sector, where, yes, I mean, it's pretty obvious that you've actually invested hugely.
Amount of money.
Yes. Are you considering concessioning some of the hospitals, even if not all of them? And then, what is your consideration for the ordinary folks whose purchasing power is actually extremely low, if you are considering concessioning?
No, even what we do now, we have different categories. Of course, we have the insurance scheme, and we have the contributory scheme, where the state and local government are also purchasing drugs to supply to especially the primary health cares, as well as some of the secondary hospitals. And we're experimenting to see what can we do and what are the challenges, so that we can quickly put measures in place to get against filtration and, you know, people doing the wrong thing and so on. So there's a system in place, and the same person that built the hospital, you know, came up with some recommendation as to how this thing can be managed. And it's an ongoing process where we may actually include all the hospitals that are still under construction and the ones that are already finished, so that at least it will be seamless. It is something that, in fact, he's in town right now, and it is something that I'll take up with him, so that let's have a solution for sustainability, like you said.
Okay, quickly.
Yeah, Your Excellency, given your experience and how you got to power, I think it was the Supreme Court that finally confirmed your election, right?
I went to court almost 7 times.
Yeah.
From nomination to election.
Yeah. The National Assembly is considering making the Court of Appeal the final court on governorship elections. And given your experience that it was the Supreme Court that gave you victory finally, don't you think the National Assembly bill is trying to return us back to Egypt when we're already in the promised land?
Well, you see, I don't want to go into legislative matters, but I think it is something that we need to look at critically before we rush into taking decision. And I believe there may be some input from people like us as kind of recommendation on the way forward. So we'll see how it goes.
Governor, we've taken much of your time already, and I'm sure our viewers, you know, have heard you, they've listened to you, they've watched you. Do you have any special message, very briefly, for the people of Zamfara State, at home and in diaspora, who are watching you, and who are the main persons who must have been following all the things you're talking about?
Well, Ruben, first of all, I want to seize the opportunity to thank the people of Zamfara State for the understanding and cooperation we are receiving from inception to date. And I implore them to continue to give us this cooperation and understanding, so that we can continue to deliver the dividend of democracy. And for the diaspora, we're making conscious effort to attract them to come back to Nigeria and serve the people of Nigeria. That is why we're implementing all this process, you know, so that the atmosphere will be conducive. Like I told you, in the health sector, we have now gone to the fact that we pay premium to attract medical personnel to come and work in Zamfara State.
Okay, so what should the people expect in the remaining 2 years
There'll
of
be
your first time?
There'll be more good things to come in Zamfara State. I'm sure when you come back next time, you also see a different Zamfara State altogether. That is my goal, and I remain on that, and I remain focused to deliver dividend of democracy for the good people of Zamfara State.
Anyway, on that note, Governor Dauda Lawal, Governor of Zamfara State, we'd like to thank you very much for giving us the opportunity to have this conversation with you on the occasion of your first media chat, as Governor of Zamfara State. My name is Ruben Abati from Arise News. And again, I introduce our panelists, Benga Aruleba from AIT, Olajumoke Olatunji from TV Continental, Ahmed Ibrahim Shekarau from Daily Trust, Onoa Uke from the Sun newspaper, and Azubike Ishekweme from the Leadership newspaper. Thank you very much. And to all of you who have watched us, thank you very much. Bye for now.
Thank you, Ruben.